I'm going to show you how to make a Juliet cap veil for under $50. You can make a Juliet cap veil for hundreds of dollars if you want by doing this entire look in lace. So it's versatile, and I'm going to show you how to do it with a fitted pattern cap. My particular design is a fitted cap. In the description below, you'll see how you can get this pattern for this exact veil. All right, so why don't we dive in? Let's go get this beautiful Juliet cap veil started so you can make this extraordinary look for under $50. First thing I'm going to show you is how to put the pattern together. Basically, it comes in 3 parts. There is a right side and a left side and a center. You're going to cut those, all 3 of these pieces out, and then you're going to join them at the join spot. And when you're done, your little pattern will look just like this. This pattern, but basically this is what you're wanting it to do. You're wanting it to come together and you're just joining it at the center. All right, that's your pattern. So you're going to grab about a 35-inch piece of illusion fabric. This is just a scrap I had, and you're going to do 2 tiers. And the way you're going to cut that out is pretty simple. You're going to put your pattern down. You can always put needles around to secure it, and keep in mind you can do this in fabric as well, lace, anything. This pattern will work with that. And it's also fun to put a French netting piece in here. So you have 3 layers. You have illusion, French netting, and illusion. And it just gives this really cool look. But right now we're just going to do 2 layers of illusion because I'm trying to get this to be under $50. And then you're going to cut that out. And when you're done cutting that out all the way around, your piece is going to look just like this. This is going to turn out to be your cap like this. And then the second part of your veil is going to be a 2-tier veil. You can make it 1 tier, 2 tier. You can make the tiers different levels. There's a couple of videos to check out. So how to measure up, that'll show you how to measure for your veil so it's custom fit to you. And then this veil, you can go to the cut edge veil, and that's going to show you how you cut your veil and get it ready for this process. And I'm using, for this veil, I'm using a cut edge, and that's basic cut edge, which will be in that video. And then I also put on the body of the veil little pearls, and you can go to Let's Get Crystallized, and on there it shows you all the ways to put little tiny crystals or pearls on the body of your veil. So much fun. First, we're going to tackle the cap. That's the most complicated part of this look. It's not necessarily complicated to do this part, but to add this and the cap together is what I'm focusing on in this tutorial. That's why I'm sending you to other tutorials for cutting and measuring and edges. And if you want to check out the playlist, Let's Get Edgy, you're going to find all different kinds of edges: pencil edge, lace edge, cording edge, and all of those edges will work with this veil. Let's go get started putting the ribbon on the cap, and I'll show you how to fit that. Now that we have our pattern all cut, it looks great, we're going to go ahead and start the process of putting the ribbon on. And that's where this little pattern here is great, because you can just lay it underneath all of your cut pieces, and we can then begin to follow this little pattern. Now, just to orient yourself, I will show you that this right here is the front of your veil, and this is the cap part right here where you're going to be capping around the head, and all of this is going to be gathered around this. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you here is a little bit of what we're going to be using. I have some lace here for potential look on the cap. I'm going to play around with a couple of different ways so that you can explore. If I can show you what you can do by adding, you can always take it off, and that way you can see all the different variations. I'm going to have this nice ribbon here. This is a 1/2 inch, and it's in white. And I'm going to start with the front piece here, lining this up, and then we'll just put some weights on it to kind of hold it in place up at the top there. Because we're going to be doing a lot of pinning, and that can move around, and we don't want it to be all crooked and not looking so straight. All right, so now the easiest one is going to be right at the front, and here's where I would like to show you where you could apply the lace. So I'm going to first lay down a piece of lace, and this is going to peek outside of that ribbon, and that's going to be right on the edge. And you just go ahead and put your ribbon over the top, and if you want, you could sew the lace first and then do the ribbon, but for time purposes, we're just going to go and do them together. Now I'm going to go this and just kind of grab both. And what's fun about putting lace right at the front is this will peek out a little bit and give you this like kind of another little vintage touch, which is so pretty. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pin that all the way down. Now once you're done there, you're going to go ahead and snip that off. Leave a little bit of a tail so it doesn't go too short. And now you have that nice little edge that's going to frame the face with that beautiful ribbon. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and do this next run. And this is no different. You're just going to be going around a little more. So it's going to be a little harder to pin. So you're going to use a lot more pins as you're going down this way. The straightaway is easy. And what's so great about the Juliet cap, this is a 16th century veil. It was very popular in the 1910 to 1930s. And the reason for that is it accommodated the really cool short hairstyles that the ladies were wearing. And so that's why people just love the Juliet cap. And there were so many different variations of it. And I love the fitted cap because it kind of has that reminiscence of that era. And this cap can be completely done in lace. Even with this illusion, you could use this illusion as your base and then just lay lace all over it to create the Padme veil in Star Wars. She had a Juliet cap, and that veil is absolutely stunning, and that's made mostly of lace. And well, it's made entirely of lace. So you just really have fun with this. It's your day, it's your veil. Don't be limited by anything because you can do all kinds of things. You just got to try and play around with it. And cut. And now for the next one. And this one's the hardest one of all of them. It is the biggest curve. And again, just lots and lots of needles to get yourself to go around that curve is all you have to do. And cut. All right, we have that all lined up. And now let's see how it looks. Pull these off, pull our pattern off. It looks really cute. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to sew each of the ribbons on. And then after that, we're gonna gather it and I'll show you how to fit it. The first one I'm gonna do is the front one. And what I'm gonna do first, I think, just so that we can secure the lace, is the side that the lace is on. And I'm just gonna do that with a standard 3 width, 3 length. And I'm gonna put my needle position all the way to the right. We're gonna be doing a very tight stitch against that edge of that ribbon. All right, let's do it. Now we're going to go all the way to this side. I'm going to turn my needle position to the left, and I'm now going to do the same thing all the way down on this side. And it's important to note, and this is with all of veil making, is you're keeping things flat, but you're not pulling them or moving them around. You don't want to make it flat like that with your hands. You're just holding it flat. Lock that stitch. Let's take a peek. Go ahead and take those needles off, and you can see that lovely edge right at the front. It's going to cap the head like that. Isn't that lovely? Oh, it's just, there's so many ways to do this. It's a lot of fun. Now we're going to do the same process here, just go a little slower because we do have more of a curve and we are trying to keep things flat. So you are going to be more like per half inch, keeping things flat with your finger. And now turning the position to the left, and we're going to do the left side. All right, so after we finish this, I'm not going to bore you with the third one here. I'm going to gather this all the way around with fishing line, and then I'm going to show you how to fit this and measure it to your head. All right, so I'll see you at the other end. To gather, I use a fishing line with little safety pins at the end. I do this on all of my veils, and it's really helpful when we're doing the cap. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Basically, you're just going to come in here and you're going to put your fishing line in, and I'm going to do a nice wide stitch, probably about a 5 width, 5 length, and I'm going to zigzag, and the goal will be to straddle that fishing line back and forth. And I'm just going to go around, not the front, that part right there was the front. I'm going to go around all the way around the entire cap itself. All right. So because we're not going to gather with the actual thread, I'm going to go ahead and lock that first stitch and kind of keep that lace, because there's many layers here, flat. You can already see the cap is already forming. Isn't that fun? Now don't cut your fishing line yet, because we're going to use that for adjusting for the fit on your head, and I'm going to show you how to do that next. And the fishing line is about a 20-inch piece. Let's go ahead and show you the next step. For the next step, we're going to go ahead and take our tape measure, and you're going to just do a simple measure. And what I'm going to have you do is from the back or even the top of your ear here, you're going to take your tape measure and you're going to go all the way around to the other side of your head like that. So your tape measure is like this on the back side and this on the front side, and that'll give you your measurement. And so mine's about 13 inches. I would go maybe like a ½ inch over that. And that's the measurement we're now going to use for the next step. So now you have your cap. We still have our fishing line on there because we caught ourselves a little cap. And now what we're going to do is take that measurement of the 14 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that like this all the way around. And then I'm going to take my measurer and I'm going to measure around the bottom to 14 inches. And you're going to adjust it as you go. And we're going to keep it on here for just a little bit because it allows you to kind of manipulate it and to play around so that you get the right fit. All right, so we're at 14 inches. So now it's a good time. I'll put my tape here to try on your cap. And so you're going to put your cap on. And the goal for your cap will be that you're going to go like this, and you're going to go ahead and see that those two places for your cap are right by or above your ear. And you can go further back. It's up to you. Just make it look like you want it. Now, here's a good time to tack it. And I like to do that with a little baby clip. So I'm just gonna tack it with that baby clip, and that's kind of holding it in there. It's not gonna hold it too good, but it'll kind of keep it in place somewhat. So we know that's about where I want it. And now I can play around with those little gathers to make them all the way even, all the way around, so that we can attach the veil to it. And you can fold it in half to make sure that your gathers are even on both sides of the ribbon. So when you're gathering it up, just make sure both sides are even here and everything is nice and even all the way around. You don't want it to be really heavy on one side and not on the other. You want it to kind of be seamless all the way around. Now, when you're putting it on, if you've noticed that there is a little extra space, because I did measure this for a 23-inch head size, which is my head size. And what you can do is when we sew it all together, we can then pull some of the cap down and crimp it underneath. So don't worry about it right now as far as if it's too poofy here, too poofy there. Don't worry, we're gonna tame that poofiness here in a second, and it won't take much. You're just gonna tack it down, and then it'll look great all the way around. And sometimes you like the poofiness, sometimes people don't. They want it to be real fitted. It's up to you. You're the bride. This is your day. This is your veil. We're going to do it the way you want it. But I'm going to show you all different variations so that you can play around and kind of problem solve if something's not looking the way you want it to. Now I'm taking the two veils that I cut, and basically I did a 44 and a 42. I wanted the tiers to be a little bit different from each other, and I did a cut edge. And what you do is you take both those veils, and just imagine you're making one veil and you're making two veils. And now you're going to put both those veils together and pin them together at the very top. That's all you're going to do. Now I'm going to go with another fishing line, and I'm going to gather this up, and we're going to add that to the cap. And this is when things are going to get born. You're going to see it. It's exciting. You get goosebumps. It's like, oh, my veil. It's becoming a Juliet cap. This is when it begins to happen, when you put these two veils together. All right, so I'm going to meet you back over at the sewing machine. I'm going to gather this up, and then I'm going to show you how to put those two veils together. All right, here we go. The next piece of fishing line is about 16 inches. I did that intentionally. I want it to be about the size of the 14 inches that we need to gather. And now you're just basically going to take one corner. I'm going from the left down to the right. And this is exactly the same process as I do all of my veils and what we just did for the cap. So I'm going to lock that first stitch. I'm going to do the 5 width, 5 length. And what's great about this technique is you can gather something that's 108 inch, 120 inch, and it is as easy as can be. All right, so we're going to straddle it all the way down, and then I'm going to show you how to gather that up. And as you can see, it already starts to gather for you. It's just so easy. Go ahead and lock that last and pull it off. I'm going to take this now to the table and show you how we're going to put those two veils together. So when you're doing a 2-tier veil, you just want to make sure that the shorter veil is on top. And if you're doing it like a ribbon edge, make sure that the ribbon edge or whatever is the edge is facing up. And that's just kind of the biggest trick with doing this kind of a veil. And any two-tier veil actually, is to make sure those edges are lined up at the top. And because we're doing a cut edge on this one, we don't have to worry about the direction of it. All right, now I'm going to lay this out flat. So we know that this is approximately 14 inches because that's how long of a piece I got. And I did go a little bit over, so I'm going to check that real quick. So it's just a smidge over. Now the key here is to make those gathers nice and even. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this back to the sewing machine, and I'm going to do, it's a stitch I've made up. It's called a ditch stitch. And what I'm going to create is a ditch all the way around the bottom of this so that this gather then becomes a permanent piece that will not unravel. It'll be perfect to add to the cap. All right, so let's go back to the sewing machine real quick and I'll show you how to do that. Now we're going to put that back in. And I'm going to move this out just slightly, just so it's out of the way. And now I'm going to put my machine at a 2 width, 2 length, and we're going to do a very tight back and forth zigzag all the way down this whole length of 14 inches, because that's about what I need for my cap. And the key will be to make sure all your gathers stay nice and straight, because it is still moving. So you want to make sure as you're going that you're not clumping your veil. And that's why I like to make the piece of fishing line about the size that I need. All right, we're going to pull that off. Do not take the fishing line off yet. You have your little ditch made, and now you're going to trim off this little mohawk. That's all you're going to do, and all the little threads, you're going to trim that up. And when you're done, that it should look like that. Looks great. So now I'm going to take that and we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the cap. All right, so here's the cap. We're going to do the same process with that, and you have it tacked down. So we know that's at the 14 mark. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same kind of stitch all the way down that little area here. Again, making sure all those gathers are similar and not too far apart, not too bunched up in one spot. I know this seems tedious, but every little part of this makes it so much easier in the end. That same little technique, we're going to go ahead and cut off that little mohawk and all the threads, leaving it on the fishing line. All right, so that's nice and cleaned up. Now this is perfectly ready to pair with the other veil. Are you ready? We're going to put this together. All right, for this next step, you need your newly gathered veil and your newly gathered cap. We're going to put these two together. So when you're doing this, make sure that you know which side is which. Okay, so I know this is the back of the veil. I'm going to take the back of the cap and I'm going to flip it. I'm going to go ahead and measure this out, and it should be roughly at 14. If not, there was a reason that we kept it on the fishing line so I can adjust as I need. All right, so we are on the 14. We're looking great. And then we're going to take the cap and we're going to do the same thing. Measure that out. It also lands on 14, so it should line up just right. So taking those two corners, and remember when you have this with ribbon and whatnot, you're going to just make sure that everything is lined up perfectly there, and you're going to land that first piece right on the edge so that when you flip it, the ribbon lines up. Here is just a cut edge, so we don't have to worry about that, but you get the idea. I can make 6 different videos with 6 different ways to make this exact veil. So I think I'm just trying to inspire you to see the different options. I'm just trying to show you how you can do it this way, you can do it that way. Each way is going to give you a different look, a feel. And can you imagine this in all lace? I have done that with a piece of heritage lace that came to me in the mail from a bride. It was her grandmother's. And she asked if I'd make the Juliet cap with that. And it was so daunting because 1, it was just one beautiful piece of lace that I didn't want to kill. And 2, because I didn't really have her here with me. We had to do measurements online, which is how I've done most of my work. And yet we managed to get it perfectly lined up and it looked great. So beautiful. And as you see, it's lining up just perfect. Okay, coming down towards the end. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I don't have to show you this part because you guys know how to sew. I'm going to sew this just with a basic stitch. You could do a zigzag stitch or just a basic stitch all the way down. That's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to come back and show you what we do next. I have sewed that. Now I'm going to go ahead and take off the little needles here. And you guessed it, you get to release the veil from the fishing line. So catch and release the veil. And I just snip off one side because I always use these over and over, and these pieces will go a long ways. You just pull those out, and sometimes, like I mentioned, it will get caught in there. It's okay, just kind of pull it out till it's uncaught. These are all free. And now you'll see that the cap is now attached to the veil. Isn't that amazing? And we have one last little embellishment here before we put on the clips and whatnot. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to take and put a ribbon around that. I'm going to grab my 1/2 inch. Now when you're putting this in, that little ditch right there, we're going to push that forward. That means we're going to push it up when we're now taking our ribbon. We're going to take the ribbon and I'm going to fold down one side of it. And we're going to, with this folded up right there, I'm going to go ahead and put the ribbon right inside and then pin it. I'll be removing that pin in a little bit because we can't sew it with it there. But right now I just need to anchor it down, making sure everything is nice and straight. And then we're going to go around here. Now we're at the front, all right? And now we're going to go ahead and secure the ribbon, and inside, right in the middle there, is basically the gather. And so what we're going to do is go all the way down, lining up the ribbon that you just did on the inside there, holding the gather little area up, and then go ahead and take those needles off on the inside. And now go all the way down the whole length of the veil, keeping that gathered part folded up. And as you're going, adjust your gathers, because we're going to sew this one more time and we don't want it to be all weird and folded over. And then when you get to the other side, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go all the way around. So let's get this measured out. Just makes it a little easier. And then fold that over. I'm going to tack it with one down here on the back side. Kind of important to line that up with the other one. And then I'm going to go back in and just go and redo this right here, catching the other one underneath. All right, now I'm going to go and I'm going to sew the top side and the bottom side. All right, before you go ahead and dive in, make sure, especially if you're doing ribbon edges or anything, that all the edges are lined up nice and straight. And then you're going to go ahead and I'm going to do the top part first, and I'm just going to do a standard stitch like I did before. Now we're going to do the other side same way. Right now I'm going to take out all the needles, and we literally have a beautiful Juliet cap that's born. The next steps will be to embellish and to get the secure system in it so that it stays in your hair. But before I do that, I wanted to show you. So if you are now at this point trying your veil on and it feels a little poofy, like maybe in this spot right here, what you're going to do is you're going to put your veil on, and you're going to take the part that's maybe poofing out, and you're going to go ahead and fold that down in just slightly. Wherever it's poofing, you're going to go ahead and tack it and then try it on again. And then as you're doing it, you're going to see, okay, it needs a little shave on that side. So you just kind of pull it down. And then once you have it just the way you want it and you've got it on, it looks great, just go ahead and do a whip stitch right in there, and you won't even see it. It'll be hidden in there. It's going to be right in that little ditch there. All right, that's how you adjust the cap. Now we're going to go ahead and put the embellishments on, and we are going to put a comb on this so that it stays in the hair. Look at this. It's so beautiful. Oh my goodness. So pretty with the pearls on it. Now to put the fun little embellishments on. You could leave it just like this, it's fine, but I think it looks really beautiful with this finished off on the side. And I got a little piece of lace and I cut it, and I thought this would make a really pretty finish on the side with the lace and all that. And I think because it's got that lace around it, I'm going to frame it out just slightly in that lace, just a little bit around the front to kind of give it a little finish so that it ties in with that lace at the front. So you just have fun to see what you want to put there. And I just, you never know what you're going to put there. I put little rosettes there, just kind of play around. And there we go. And now I'm just going to lay that on here, and I'm going to put a nice generous amount of glue right on the center of that. And then I'm going to sew it once we put the other little clip underneath it. And that just kind of balances it out. And I wanted to have a little lace coming in. You could put lace all the way down. You could just vine it all over the place. You'll hear me say this a lot. This is your veil. This is your wedding. make it beautiful. I just want to show you the difference here. So here's one we just did, and here's one I did for the example here. Different finishes, different kinds. There's just no end to what you can do. All right, and now I'm going to flip that over, and this is a little clip that I glued and then sewed onto the felt. And you just open it up and you sew around the teeth like that, and it's just perfectly ready to go. And without that felt, it just doesn't adhere as well. And I love this because it'll last longer, and we're going to sew it as well. And you want to make sure the clip is facing out towards your hand this way. And just kind of sneak it in there, back there, so you can't see it. And then you're going to sew everything in to place. So now you're going to go up through all the layers, through that little bit of felt on that clip, and you're going to go all the way around, and then secure everything the best you can, because a little bit of glue goes a long ways, but I feel like over time it does come apart. And if you want to pass this down, a little hand sewing is really very important. And then the next place we're going to put some security is in the back. Now, these things you can omit, you can use them or not use them. It really depends on your hairstyle. So when I put one here in the back, I'll show you here on this veil, I put one here on the back, and that's to kind of keep the cap kind of up in the back. Sometimes it'll kind of go down, so this kind of keeps the cap shape. Now, if you have like a pixie hairstyle and you can't do that, that's not a problem. You know, you're just going to wear it tighter on the head, maybe measure it a little tighter to your head with less of that gather. It's up to you. It's just based on your hairstyle. And then I'm going to fold that in half so I know where the center is. And I'm going to take my 2-inch comb, I'm going to land it smack in the middle, and then I'm just going to do a whip stitch and just whip all the way down. One last thing, if you are still struggling to keep the cap on, I sometimes will put a little 2-inch or 1-inch comb right here. And you can put bobby pin loops there as well. So just so you know, just go ahead and put as much as you need or as little as you need. Wasn't that fun? You learned how to make a Juliet cap veil, and you can transform this in many ways. If you love this veil and maybe you want to learn how to make a mantilla and other kinds of veils, check out this playlist. It is full of all different kinds of veils for you to explore to make for your special day. All right, thanks for dropping in.